After the scene where Korkut openly threatens his enemies, it is logical to expect that he will take decisive action in the next episode. This reaction hints that he will begin eliminating cartel people one by one, disguising it as external attacks. Most likely, it is his hidden aggression that will become the main problem for Sultan, destroying her plans from within. Rutkai's words about meeting again soon sound like a direct preparation for a new clash. Judging by this scene, an open confrontation between him and Korkut's men is highly probable next. Someone's abrupt decision will hit both sides, forcing them to reveal their main trump cards and bring the conflict out of the shadows. When the intelligence agency discusses putting pressure on the cartel, it becomes clear that their tactics will change. Based on this reaction, it looks like the agency will move from targeted operations to a full-scale hunt for the network's top brass. It is logical to expect that this anger will make Altai act without looking back at consequences or diplomacy. Davut is in the very lair of the enemy, and the tension around him is growing. This detail hints that in the next episode, his cover will be on the verge of blowing. Most likely, someone from Rutkai's men will subject him to a brutal test, forcing Davut to take extreme measures to survive. The condition of pregnant Nazli becomes a critical factor for the whole team. After such a conversation, we can expect her health to deteriorate sharply, adding intense drama to the next episode. Most likely, to save her, someone from the leadership will have to break protocol and reveal part of the truth prematurely. Korkut's brutal reprisal against Elchi shows that he no longer intends to play by Sultan's rules. The most logical next step here is Sultan's attempt to severely punish Korkut for his vigilantism. This storyline will clearly come to the forefront, forcing both of them to look for deadly blackmail material against each other. By hiding his true vulnerability, Korkut temporarily seizes the initiative. But this understatement sounds like a ticking time bomb. Most likely, Sultan will soon throw all her resources into finding his real weakness, and this manic search will lead her right to his secret team. Korkut's phrase that he is always ready for a fight completely breaks their fragile alliance. Judging by this scene, an open rebellion on his part can be expected in the next episode. It seems he will provoke a situation where Sultan is forced to publicly acknowledge his power or try to destroy him. Hamdi's unconditional support makes Korkut's position much stronger. After this conversation, it is logical to expect that Hamdi will become the main shadow enforcer in the new game against the cartel. His loyalty will allow Korkut to strike through others' hands, remaining completely above Sultan's suspicion. Uzay's vow to his unborn child makes his arc incredibly personal. This detail hints that the motive of protecting his family will become central to his future covert actions. In the next episode, we will surely see how this promise will make him risk everything as he begins to run the operation from the shadows. Korkut's fake warmth in communicating with Ganesh only emphasizes his duplicity in this house. Most likely, he will further use this emotional attachment to secretly manipulate Sultan's entourage. This cunning move will strike at the trust within the family and sow the seeds of a split. The doctor's warning about Nazli's impending psychological breakdown sounds like a grim forecast for the near future. Based on this reaction, it seems that in the next episode her despair will push her to a reckless act. It is highly probable she will try to find the culprits herself, creating huge security problems for the team. Comparing the situation to the historical Battle of Kosovo shows how high the stakes are in this war. Because of this, a sharp change in the agency's strategy is likely in the next episode. It seems Altai will decide to sacrifice a pawn in order to unexpectedly strike a fatal blow to the very heart of the enemy's shadow structure. The reminder that Davut is one step away from death multiplies the pressure on the entire operation. The most logical move here is the emergency introduction of another agent to cover him. If Davut makes even one tiny mistake, the cartel will immediately execute him without hesitation. The Baskin's grief over the loss of his best analyst shows that the leadership will no longer hold back their emotions. After such a scene, we can expect him to give a direct order to eliminate the enemies without trial. This harsh decision will trigger a new, dirtier conflict with international structures. Uzay's fear for his child's future reveals his true main motivation. Precisely because of this, the appearance of his secret plans and cunning preparations, left in case of his apparent death, is highly probable in the next episode. It is logical to expect the team to start receiving encrypted messages from him. Altay's admission that he would rather die instead of his friend shows his deepest sense of guilt. Against this background, we can expect him to act as riskily as possible, almost seeking death in combat. His fanatical attempt to fix everything will only increase the tension within the team. Hilal's shock at the news triggers a chain reaction of grief within the entire team. Judging by this scene, in the next episode, she might be the one to take on the most brutal part of the impending vengeance. Her cold professionalism will surely give way to a personal vendetta, hitting the enemies extremely hard. Davut and Altay's conversation about Julia lays a solid foundation for a powerful family clash. This detail hints that Davut will later have to cynically manipulate his own daughter for the mission's success. The inevitable revelation of this truth to Julia could drastically change the balance of power in the whole series. Davut's explanation about his transfer to another cell shows how subtly he weaves his web. And by the way, while we analyze this complex game, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Most likely, Davut will use this cell relocation to feed false information to the enemies and buy time. Altay beating Davut to flawlessly maintain the cover is a harsh but absolutely necessary step. After this conversation, we can expect Rutkay to believe in their enmity, but he will still keep Davut under close surveillance. In the next episode, Davut will have to prove his loyalty to the cartel in an even bloodier way. Rutkay's hysterics and curses directed at the agency prove he is losing control of the situation. It looks like his paranoia will reach a new level, and he will start suspecting betrayal within his own inner circle. The most likely move here is a blind purge of the ranks, which will weaken his position. Korkut's refusal to answer Sultan's summons is not just a whim, but an open display of disobedience. This detail hints that their conflict will soon enter an active phase. Most likely, in the next episode, Korkut will try to completely seize control of Sultan's street fighters. Nasli's direct distrust of Levent shows that a serious internal crisis is brewing within the system. Judging by this reaction, Levent will soon try to use her vulnerable state for his personal goals. It is logical to expect that this quiet conflict will be the spark for a major internal investigation in the agency. Altay's demand to give him even the slightest trail to follow looks like a preparation for a massive, punitive operation. After such a scene, we can expect him to directly violate Baskin's orders if the trail leads to untouchable figures. His anger can no longer be contained within the bounds of the law. Sultan's arrival to personally punish Korkut proves she no longer delegates dirty work. This scene looks like preparation for the final rupture of their relationship. It seems in the next episode, Sultan will try to strip Korkut of his main allies in order to isolate and break him morally. Sultan's statement that Korkut crossed the line sounds like an official sentence. Because of this, we can expect Korkut to launch a backup plan to destroy her financial empire. Someone's impulsive decision at this stage will become the trigger for a bloody war within the cartel. Demanding Hamdi's hand as compensation for Elchi's tongue is the peak of Sultan's pressure. The most logical next step here is for Hamdi to create his own secret network of informants. After such a sacrifice, he will finally step into the shadows, becoming the most dangerous and invisible enemy for Sultan. The moment Hamdi completely trusts his fate to Korkut cements their brotherly bond forever. This detail hints that their mutual revenge will become much more sophisticated and ruthless. In the next episode, we will surely see how this blood tie allows them to outplay Sultan's guards. Sultan's realization that Korkut does not fear her power exposes her own hidden weakness. Judging by this scene, she will then try to bind him to her emotionally rather than through fear. This erroneous manipulation attempt will only hasten her ultimate fall into Korkut's trap. Sultan's admission that she cannot refuse Korkut reveals her critical vulnerability. After this conversation, we can expect Korkut to openly use her weakness to extract secret cartel data. It is logical to expect this alliance to crack as soon as she realizes she is being used. Altay's hidden hint about Levent's potential suggests that the agency is preparing a multi-move combination. It looks like in the next episode, Levent will be used as bait to lure out Rutkay's foreign handlers. If this plan works, the initiative will pass to Turkish intelligence for a long time. The Baskins' harsh order to return Uzay's body at any cost, or not return at all, puts the team in a desperate position. This reaction hints that the operation in Europe will turn into a real massacre. Most likely, to carry out this order, Altay will enter into a direct conflict with local special services. Identifying Hans Varlas as a media mogul working for the cartel opens a massive new front in the struggle. Because of this, a large-scale information confrontation is likely in the next episode. The most probable move here is Altay's attempt to steal Hans's archives to use against the very people who commissioned them. The explanation of the blackmail mechanism through shadow archives shows the true power of the enemy. After such a scene, we can expect the agency to focus on finding this exact vault of compromising material. Whoever takes possession of the sin safe first will dictate the terms in the next phase of the global conflict. Altay's willingness to sacrifice himself for the common cause underscores his role as a suicide leader in this operation. This detail hints that he will intentionally expose himself to a strike in order to expose a mole. It is highly probable that his fake capture will be the key to infiltrating the cartel's Holy of Holies. The appearance of an engineer selling state secrets introduces a dangerous new variable to the game. From this reaction, it looks like the agency already knows about the leak and is using it as bait. Most likely, in the next episode, the fake blueprints will act as a Trojan horse inside the enemy's system. Nasli's severe hallucinations, where she sees Uzay alive, break the heart and show the extent of her trauma. Judging by this scene, her instability will soon lead to a dangerous mistake. It is logical to expect that she will try to escape her guards to find answers about her husband's death on her own. Nasli's despair and her words about the impossibility of life without Uzay force the team to hurry with their revenge. After this conversation, we can expect the Baskin to secretly increase the security around her, fearing the worst. Her total isolation from the truth will eventually lead to an explosion of distrust toward the agency. Rutkay's arrogant interaction with Hans demonstrates his confidence in his own impunity. Because of this, his fatal clash with an underestimated opponent is likely in the next episode. It seems this blind overconfidence will prevent him from noticing the trap that Altay is already springing around him. Rutkay's words that Altay suspects Davut show how skillfully Davut is playing a double game. This detail hints that Davut will further use this supposed suspicion to strengthen his authority with the enemies. Most likely, he will provoke Altay into a public conflict himself to secure an alibi. Assigning Julia to an important delivery mission draws her into the very epicenter of the approaching storm. The most logical next step here is the interception of this delivery by Korkut's or Altay's men. If this happens, Davut will have to choose between failing the mission and his own daughter's life. Julia's revelations about her cold and calculating mother lay the foundation for her future betrayal of the cartel. After such a scene, we can expect her to start doubting her family's ideals. Should she find out the truth that Davut is her father, her loyalty will crumble overnight. Korkut's discovery of a bug in Sultan's necklace gives him a colossal tactical advantage. This detail hints that in the next episode, he will start feeding her carefully crafted disinformation. It is logical to expect that this very listening device will be the cause of the spectacular failure of Sultan's ambush. Korkut's refusal to be a submissive servant breaks Sultan's usual control pattern. Judging by this reaction, she will begin making impulsive and illogical moves due to the loss of control over him. This break in the pattern will allow Korkut to outplay her on her own turf. Sultan's jealousy of Korkut's old photograph shows her progressing emotional dependence. Because of this, it's likely that in the next episode, she will decide to eliminate any reminders of his past. This obsession will cause her to make a fatal mistake, distracting her from the real threat posed by the agency. The engineer's plan to blackmail Hans proves that everyone in this game has their own hidden motives. It seems this engineer will become a key witness for the agency if they manage to get to him in time. His greed will ultimately lead him straight into the hands of Turkish intelligence. Altay's capture of Hans in the forest cabin is the first successful stage of a massive retaliation. After such a scene, we can expect Hans to break quickly under interrogation and give up his contacts. Most likely, his testimony will open a direct path for the agency to the top of the European cartel. Davut and Julia's conversation about the upcoming package puts Davut in an extremely dangerous position. This detail hints that he will later have to sabotage the delivery in a way that Julia suspects nothing. Any miscalculation here will cost both of them their lives, raising the tension to the limit. Julia's deep hatred for Davut, which she makes no secret of, makes their interaction highly volatile. The most probable move here is a situation where Davut saves her life, causing her to question her feelings. This emotional shift will be the key to recruiting her to the agency's side. Finding out that Sultan is Julia's mother gives the Baskan a powerful lever of pressure. It is logical to expect that in the next episode, he will order this family tie to be used to fracture the enemy network. This discovery will turn Julia from a simple courier into the main target of both sides. The Baskins' decision to use Julia's delivery as bait for the big fish moves the operation to a decisive stage. After this conversation, we can expect the agency to establish close surveillance on her. It looks like her route will lead the Turkish special forces straight to the enemy's secret coordination center. Altay's harsh decision to eliminate all guards shows that the time for negotiations is over. This reaction hints that the European operation will turn into a methodical and ruthless destruction of the enemy network. Most likely, such aggressive tactics will cause panic in the upper echelons of the cartel. Korkut's intention to intercept the delivery personally speaks of his desire to strike Sultan as painfully as possible. Judging by this scene, in the next episode we will see a clash of interests between Korkut and the agency over this cargo. Someone's attempt to play proactively could lead to chaos at the exchange site. The cold-blooded disguising of Elchi's murder as an external attack shows how sophisticated Korkut and Hamdi have become in their game. It seems they will then use this incident to accuse someone loyal to Sultan of treason. This fake evidence will force her to paranoidly destroy her own allies. Hans's desperate attempts to buy off Altay's wrath with money look pitiful and doomed. Exactly because of this, his full cooperation with intelligence in exchange for protection is likely in the next episode. It is logical to expect him to hand over all the access keys to the Shadow Boss's secret bank accounts. Altay's threat to use combat drones against enemy hideouts demonstrates the agency's technological superiority. After such a scene, we can expect them to launch synchronized strikes on multiple cartel bases at once. This decision will completely destroy the enemy's logistics and deprive them of safe zones in Europe. The Baskins' strategy to capture the agent lists and subsequently de-anonymize them is an incredibly powerful blow. This detail hints that a global purge of foreign spies awaits us next. Most likely, the publication of this data will cause an international scandal and leave the cartel without political support. Samuel's sadistic methods when interrogating a prisoner vividly reveal his psychopathic nature. The most logical next step here is Altay's symmetrical response, when Samuel himself ends up in the interrogation chair. It seems his cruelty will turn against him, and he will break faster than all the others. Samuel's hypocritical excuses that he is forced to commit atrocities inspire no trust whatsoever. Judging from this reaction, he will next try to give up his direct handlers to mitigate his fate. His cowardice in the face of a real threat will become the main trump card in the hands of Turkish intelligence. Altay's discovery of the empty truck proves that Sultan turned out to be more cunning than anticipated. Because of this, an emergency change in the entire operational plan of the agency is likely in the next episode. It seems they will have to improvise on the fly to track down the actual route of the valuable cargo. Nazli's tears over ordinary, everyday moments with Uzay make the scene as poignant as possible. This detail hints that in the next episode, her grief will turn into cold fury. It is logical to expect her to refuse psychological help and begin looking for her own path to avenge her husband. Hamdi's heightened paranoia and his suspicions about Sultan's trap save him and Korkut from certain death. After this conversation, we can expect them to start acting proactively, setting up their own ambushes. Most likely, their vigilance will allow them to thwart the cartel's plans at the very last moment. Rutkai's realization that Samuel has fallen into the hands of intelligence causes him undisguised panic. The most likely move here is a desperate attempt to cover his tracks and destroy compromising evidence before Samuel talks. This panicked flight will make him an easy target for the agency's snipers. Rutkai's activation of the digital mine is his last and most despicable attempt to save face. This reaction hints that the conflict will then move into cyberspace. It seems the agency will have to deploy all its IT resources to prevent mass casualties through hacked devices. Choosing young state prodigies as targets for the digital mine shows the sheer baseness of the cartel's methods. Judging by this scene, in the next episode, Altai's team will be forced to race against time to save these geniuses. This will shift their focus from attack to emergency defense. The moment when Sultan directly tells Korkut that she knows about his lie concerning Ferhat puts him on the verge of failure. Because of this, we can expect Korkut to go all in and try to seize power by force. A bloody resolution to their tense relationship within the mansion's walls is logical to expect. Altai's harsh physical capture of Samuel draws a line under the first stage of the operation in France. After such a scene, we can expect Samuel's interrogation to be quick and ruthless. Most likely, it is the information from him that will allow the agency to pinpoint the exact location of the sin safe. Rutkai's attempt to blackmail Altai with the prodigy's lives looks like an act of desperation from a cornered beast. This detail hints that Altai will next pretend to agree to the conditions, preparing a hidden counterstrike. It seems this fake compromise will become the perfect smokescreen for a cyber attack by the agency. Rutkai celebrating his supposed victory and humiliating Altai is the classic calm before the storm. Because of this, his complete and crushing defeat is likely in the next episode. It is logical to expect his joy to turn to horror when he realizes the digital mine was neutralized before the conversation even began. The scene where Rutkai opens the coffin and realizes it is empty becomes the climax of the entire deception operation. Based on this reaction, it looks like he will then fall into a state of blind rage and make a fatal mistake. Most likely, this realization will force him to throw all his forces into the search, leaving his rear completely defenseless. The moment Korkut and Hamdi find the secret cargo and see a living Uzay inside completely flips the entire chessboard. The most likely move here is the creation of a secret alliance between Korkut and Uzay, right behind enemy lines. Their joint work from the inside will destroy the cartel faster than any external attack. The surviving Uzay's jokes about board games after his resurrection show that his brilliant mind has already calculated all the moves ahead. Judging by this scene, in the next episode he will become the invisible conductor of the whole operation. It is logical to expect the cartel to collapse without even realizing they were destroyed by a dead man.